speaking to you from the island of Bali, where I live with my husband, Lama D. We are enjoying this lovely island with its clean ocean air, kind people, amazing beaches, and perfect weather. Indonesia is a country of 11,000 islands off the Malay Peninsula. Indonesia is only 20% the size of the USA, but spans the same width from east to west. Indonesia has 3/4 the population of the US in only 1/5 of the land area. Compared to Australia, Indonesia has 10 times the population in 1/3 the land mass. Bali is a small island about the size of Delaware, sitting just south of the equator. The weather is pleasantly warm all year round. Bali is 95 miles from east to west, which takes 5 hours to drive. From south to north, it's 69 miles, or about 1.5 hours to drive. Near the capital, Denpasar, is the Ngurah Airport, where we arrived a few months ago. Bali is a chain of volcanic mountains surrounded by beautiful beaches on all sides. Indonesia is richly endowed with natural resources. The world's #1 producer of palm oil, it is also the world's 4th largest producer of coffee and cacao. Modern exports include crude oil, natural gas, gold, copper, clothing, cars, motorcycles, and smartphones. These Indonesian products mostly go to China, Japan, Singapore, and the USA. Tourism accounts for 6% of the Indonesian economy, and Bali is the gem of tourism where it represents 35% of the economy. Indonesian history is a tale of international competition over rich natural resources and religious turbulence. With many centuries of power shifts between local kings, the Portuguese, the Dutch East India Company, Indian and Arab traders, Chinese, Japanese, and the USA. In olden times, all these islands were ruled by Hindu and Buddhist kings. Bali's fertile fields attracted traders from India and Arab countries. After the time of the Prophet Muhammad in the 6th and 7th centuries, many Indonesian kings converted to Islam. With 700 unique languages and many traditions of worship, Indonesian religions are closely interwoven with ancient tribal customs. Traditional beliefs akin to animism hold that all things are infused with an awareness, and that the spiritual world and the physical world are deeply interconnected. Like many other ancient religions, the Balinese assume that a spirit consciousness exists in the planet Earth, in animals, forests, rocks, wind, and rain, connecting the seen and the unseen worlds. This beautiful blending of ancient, shamanic, and animistic practices is represented in everyday activities. Daily offerings from nature can be found in every home in Bali. Called Canang Sari, they are skillfully designed from leaves and flowers into works of art and offered to the gods in every family temple. When Portuguese explorers came to the Malaysian peninsula in the early 1500s, they found a fertile paradise. They developed relationships with royalty and a rich spice trade. Indonesia offers some of my very favorite foods like cacao, cloves, cinnamon, coconut, black pepper, saffron, and vanilla. Java coffee, sugarcane, and opium were also big cash crops. The Dutch came later to dominate trade and to rule Indonesia for 300 years. This was followed by a brief Japanese domination, and Indonesia gained its independence after World War II. Now it forges alliances through NGOs like the Open Society Institute and the TIFA Foundation, Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, which coordinates government revenues from oil, coal, gold, iron, and copper. The Indonesian language is Bahasa Malayo, part of the Malayo-Polynesian language family, once spoken all the way from Australia to Cambodia. Even though Bahasa is the national language of Indonesia, it is not a natural language. It began as a pidgin trade speak to allow people from hundreds of different areas to communicate. Anyone can learn to speak Bahasa. In fact, when it was chosen as a national language, no one spoke it at home. The Dutch East Indies government standardized it with Latin letters and made it the language for schools, government, and trade. However, in Bali, most locals speak Balinese, a different Malayo-Polynesian language, and many people speak English. Indonesia is home to the world's largest Muslim population with 225 million people, even more than Pakistan, India, and any Middle Eastern country. Today, 87% of Indonesians are Muslim, 10% are Christian, and 2% Hindu. Christian missionaries came to Indonesia from Portugal and later from Holland. Bali is unique as is the only Hindu island in Indonesia, with 83% of its inhabitants being Hindu. That is because Bali represents the remains of a great Hindu empire called the Majapahit Empire, based in Java for hundreds of years, that covered the Malay Peninsula all the way to Cambodia. This civilization is considered one of the greatest periods of Asian history. The Majapahit society enjoyed a high level of sophistication in trade, art, and literature. Around 1527, it was conquered by a Muslim king, a recent convert to Islam, and wartime ally of the Portuguese. By the end of the 15th century, life was chaos in Java, as Muslim expansion made life difficult for Hindus. Persecuted by a Muslim king, Hindu nobility, princes, artists, and priests found they could no longer live on their home island of Java. Instead, they all moved to the neighboring island of Bali to restore the ancient civilization. At that moment in history, Bali became the refuge for the Hindu upper class who escaped their former capital in Java. Bali owes its special Hindu traditions to an influential priest, Danyang Nirartha, who also came bringing his vast knowledge of religion and spirituality. Nirartha had a revelation that the Indonesian Dharma, or sacred path, should cultivate the perfect trinity of manifestation. He taught the concept of Shiva Siddhanta to describe the creation of the world. At the highest level, truth has two parts, namely consciousness, Chaitana, and unconsciousness, Achetana. Chaitana, or consciousness, is further expressed as a trinity of three parts. Paramashiva is the almighty, immeasurable, inconceivable, unimaginable God everywhere, everlasting and eternal. Paramashiva, the supreme God, began to be active, to enlighten, to form consciousness, and permeated all beings. He then began to rule the passage from one life to another, and this being is called Lord Sadashiva. When later he began to structure nature and the physical world, he worked as Lord Shiva, infusing himself into life like butter melts into milk to become a unified whole. These three aspects of Almighty God are the Holy Trinity. The Hindu royal court in Bali encouraged Majapahit art and architecture. They developed literature in the form of sacred Kakawin, or epic poems chanted in old Javanese verse from ancient Sanskrit legends such as the Ramayana. During his lifetime, Nirartha built many great temples in Bali. He created a three-temple system for villages, with a temple for Brahma in the north, to Vishnu in the middle, and a temple to Shiva in the south. He also chose incense, holy water, and fresh flowers as the best tools to help people cultivate their souls to the greatest power in their daily rituals. All Balinese Hindus continue to follow his practices to harmonize, strengthen, and purify the spiritual well-being of the island. This time was known as the Golden Age, when the nobles followed their obligations and spiritual laws were upheld. When he was a very old man, Nirartha went to the beach in Kerobokan to bury his sacred tobacco box, which, according to custom, Hindu priests used to chew tobacco mixed with spices, and a priest's tobacco box possessed powerful energy. He asked the spirit there to guard it, calling the place Petitenget, meaning hidden chest. Finally, at the very end of his life, Nirartha reached moksha, being freed of all karma, at a place we call Uluwatu Temple. Nirartha's concept to keep the balance of life in Bali and add richness to the culture of the island. Of course, in Bali, there's a god for almost everything. The goddess Mother Earth is Devi Ibu Partiwi. The god of the sun is Surya. The god of love is Deva Semada, and the god of rain is Deva Indra. Bali is known for its rich artistic traditions. Balinese dance depicts legends with expressive hand gestures and eye movements. Artisans show their skills in every way imaginable, such as batik fabrics, weaving, basketry, wood carving, and jewelry. Balinese cuisine consists of rice, vegetables, sometimes meat, and always sauces with hand-ground spices. I'd like to show you a few of my very favorite places to visit in Bali. In the south, we have Denpasar city with the airport and surrounding area. Near the city is Pura Petitenget. That's the ancient temple where Nirartha buried his special box. Nusa Dua Beach in the south is home to many five-star hotels. Pura Luhur Uluwatu Temple is one of the 7 sea temples and 9 directional temples that protect Bali from evil spirits. This is also where you will see some of the most stunning sunsets in the world. In North Bali, Singaraja is a thriving city of 100,000. Local markets there offer everything from fresh fish to peppers, papaya, mango, and handicrafts. On this coast, you will find the famous black sand beaches. In central Bali, my favorite hike goes up to the very top of Mount Batur. The Tirta Empur fountains is a water temple for ritual cleansing and spiritual renewal. Ubud, royal king's palace, was built in the 1700s. Balinese artists came from all over the island to assist, and many chose to stay in Ubud, which became a center of culture and art. The Temple of Death in the Monkey Forest is an amazing shrine to invite humans to face impermanence and death without fear. In West Bali, the Pura Taman Ayun Royal Temple is from 1634 and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Menjangan Island offers snorkeling in one of the most beautiful coral reefs in the world. The Pura Gede Peranchak Temple is the site of the priest Nirartha's arrival in Bali. In eastern Bali, the Tirta Ganga Water Gardens is a royal palace with bathing pools and a temple. Tenganan Village shows traditional Balinese lifestyle with wood carving, gamelan music, along with handmade batik and ikat textiles. The Lempuyang Temple is the oldest in Bali, about 4,000 feet above sea level. You'll have to climb a steep staircase of 1,700 stairs. When you arrive at the top, you will be rewarded by a vast mountain landscape. Pura Besakih is the Mother Temple of Bali, the largest and most holy temple. It's actually a complex of 80 smaller temples in a large compound on the sacred Mount Agung. People in Bali believe that nature, the spirits, and gods actually live there. Therefore, in Bali, the temples and their meaning are unique to the land they're built on. This area is known for a dragon deity, Naga Besukian, who lives on Mount Agung. Thank you for allowing me to share a few things that I love about Bali. Come here to rest, rejuvenate, and feel nourished. These beautiful people, the clean ocean air, delicious food, warm weather, and spiritual traditions all make Bali one of my favorite places on earth.